My family ignored me for years. Completely invisible, like I didn't even exist. But at Thanksgiving dinner last year, I casually mentioned my $160 million fortune. My sister Emma's jaw literally dropped. My dad just stared, in complete silence. You want to know the crazy part? They had absolutely no idea. None. Let me take you back to where this all started, because trust me, this story gets wild. I learned how to be invisible when I was 9 years old. That was the year my sister Emma turned 18. I remember standing at my bedroom window, wearing this second-hand sweater from Goodwill and some pants my mom got at a thrift store, and I just watched as Emma got her first car, a brand new BMW, shiny, red ribbon wrapped around it, sitting right there in our driveway. She screamed. She literally jumped up and down, hugging our parents while neighbors came over to congratulate them. "You raised such an amazing daughter," they kept saying. Nobody saw me standing there. Nobody even looked up at my window. Emma was always the golden child. Always. She's 7 years older than me, and she came along when my parents were still young, still excited about life. They had all these dreams about raising the perfect daughter. Then I came along, and honestly, I think I was more of an accident than a plan. The excitement was gone by then. You know, those baby books parents keep? Mine was empty after my first birthday. The photo albums, they just stopped updating them. My parents ran a moderately successful insurance company in Connecticut. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Well, Emma was comfortable. I was something else. Emma went to Westfield Academy. You know, one of those private schools that costs more per year than most people's cars? Yeah, that one. Me. I went to Franklin Public School, 3 blocks from our house. The ceiling tiles leaked when it rained. Our textbooks had copyright dates from like 2005. In 2015, one time I asked my mom why Emma got to go to private school, and I didn't. She looked at me like I'd asked why the sky is blue, like it was the dumbest question in the world. Emma needs more stimulation, sweetie. She's gifted. You're doing just fine where you are. Fine. That word haunted me growing up. Emma was exceptional, brilliant, destined for greatness. I was fine. You want to know what really messed me up? Emma's 17th birthday present was a trip to Paris. With our parents. The 3 of them. 2 weeks in France. My 17th birthday? Mom bought a $30 cake from the grocery store. That was it. Oh, and I used my own money to buy myself a used graphing calculator because mine broke and I knew better than to ask for a new one. At first, I didn't understand it was unfair. I was too young to get it. I just thought this was normal. This was how families worked. Some kids got more because they deserved it more. I internalized that belief until it became part of my identity. But you know what? I also developed something Emma never had. Resourcefulness. While Emma was taking French lessons and violin lessons and whatever else, I was teaching myself how to code. Library books. Free online tutorials. Spent hours and hours in front of that old computer. While she spent summers at expensive camps in the Adirondacks, I worked at a corner grocery store. Saved every single dollar. While she was deciding which Ivy League school to attend, I was applying to state universities and praying for scholarships. I got into the University of Connecticut on a full academic scholarship. My parents took me to Applebee's to celebrate. We had appetizers and entrees. It was nice, I guess. When Emma got into Yale, and my parents paid her full tuition, they threw a garden party for 50 people. Catered buffet. Champagne toasts. The whole thing. I ate 3 sliders and left early. Nobody noticed. College became my way out. My escape route. I double majored in computer science and math. Worked 2 part-time jobs. And I spent every spare minute improving my skills, learning new programming languages, building things. Most holidays, I didn't go home. I told my parents I was busy with work or classes, which was true. But really, I just couldn't stand watching Emma come home to fanfare and excitement while I got distracted. "Oh, you're here too." Junior year, something clicked. I had started doing freelance development work to make extra money, building websites, apps, stuff like that for small businesses. And one of my clients mentioned their company was hemorrhaging money because of inventory management problems. They were losing thousands of dollars because they couldn't track their supply chain efficiently. Over Christmas break, I built them a solution. It was rough. It was clunky, but it worked. They paid me $6,500, the most money I'd ever seen at once. But here's the thing that mattered. They told other people about it. Within 6 months, I had 10 companies asking for similar solutions. I dropped down to part-time student status and focused entirely on building better, more sophisticated software. I was sleeping 4 hours a night, living off ramen and coffee, programming until my fingers ached. The software evolved. I called it Supply Flow, and it grew into something way bigger than I'd ever imagined. A complete supply chain management platform that could integrate with existing systems and provide real-time analytics. I was 21 years old and running an actual tech company out of my dorm room. I graduated at 22. Emma had graduated from Yale the year before and was working at some top marketing firm in Manhattan, living in an apartment our parents helped her buy. They were so proud. They'd show pictures of her corner office like they'd built it themselves. I was still invisible. They knew I'd graduated. They knew I was working with computers. But they weren't interested in the details. When I tried to explain what Supply Flow did, my dad would politely nod and change the subject to Emma's latest client presentation. So I stopped trying. But there was one moment that almost broke my resolve to stay quiet. I was 23, and I went home for Easter. One of the few times I'd made the trip. Emma had just gotten engaged to her first fiancé, this lawyer named Ethan. My parents loved him. The engagement lasted 8 months before he cheated on her. But that day, she was showing off her ring to everyone who walked through the door. I had just signed my second major contract. $300,000. It was going to let me hire 5 more employees. I couldn't contain my excitement. Over dinner, I tried. "I have some good news," I said during a break in the Emma worship session. Mom looked at me with mild interest. "Oh, did you meet someone, honey?" "No, it's about work. I just signed a major client. The contract is—" "That's wonderful, dear," Dad said without looking up from his phone. "Emma, your mother, and I were thinking we should throw an engagement party here at the house. Maybe rent a tent for the backyard." Emma squealed, and the conversation shifted completely. I excused myself, went upstairs to my childhood bedroom, which had been converted into Emma's gift-wrapping station. There were rolls of expensive wrapping paper everywhere, elaborate bows, ribbons. I sat on the floor and called my business partner, Jessica. She'd been with me since the beginning, a brilliant developer I met through a coding forum. "They don't care," I told her, surrounded by Emma's wedding planning supplies. "Then stop telling them," Jessica said simply. "Maya, you don't need their approval. Build your empire. Let the work speak for itself." That conversation changed everything. Jessica was right. I'd been looking for crumbs of validation from people who would never see me as anything more than Emma's forgettable little sister. From that point on, I channeled every ounce of hurt, every dismissal, every forgotten moment into building something undeniable. At 23, I landed my first major contract. A regional logistics company paid me $250,000 to implement Supply Flow across their entire operation. I hired my first real employees, 2 brilliant developers I'd met online who believed in what we were building. At 24, a national retailer signed on, then another, and another. At 25, I had 47 employees and $7 million in annual revenue. At 26, a venture capital firm offered me $18 million for 30% of the company. I negotiated down to 20% for $12 million. My lawyer nearly had a heart attack at my boldness, but I knew what Supply Flow was worth. I could have told my family then, I could have shown up at Christmas with news of my success, proved that I was more than just fine. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the memory of every dismissive comment, every forgotten birthday, every time I'd been an afterthought in my own family. I wanted to see how far I could go while they weren't looking. I wanted to build something so big, so undeniable that they'd have to see me. So I stayed quiet. I lived modestly in a small apartment in Boston, drove a Honda Civic, kept building. At 27, supply flow went international. We signed contracts in Canada, Mexico, the UK. Revenue hit $25 million. I moved into a nicer apartment. Nothing flashy. Bought a nicer car, a Lexus, but kept the Honda too. At 28, the acquisition offers started coming in. Tech giants who wanted to absorb supply flow into their empires, offering ridiculous amounts of money. I turned them all down. This was mine. I wasn't ready to give it up. The first offer was $120 million from some Silicon Valley behemoth. But they wanted to completely dismantle supply flow and integrate the technology into their existing platform. I declined within 24 hours. The second offer was $170 million from a European conglomerate. Better money, but they wanted to relocate me to Frankfurt and phase out my entire team within a year. My board thought I was insane. Maya, these are life-changing offers. One investor told me during a heated meeting. You're leaving hundreds of millions on the table. I'm not interested in money that comes with conditions that betray everything I've built, I said. Supply flow is more than just code. It's a team. It's a vision. Then Claire Matthews reached out, CEO of Innovix Technologies, a woman who'd built her own company from scratch. She understood the value of what I'd created. We met for coffee in Boston, and she laid out a proposal that honored what I'd built. I don't want to absorb supply flow, Claire said, stirring her coffee. I want to amplify it. You stay on as CEO. Your team stays intact. We provide the infrastructure and capital to go truly global. You keep your vision. We give you the resources to make it bigger than you ever could alone. I listened to her pitch for 2 hours. By the end, I knew this was different. The negotiations took 3 months. My lawyers and their lawyers fought over every detail. I fought for my team. Made sure they got generous retention bonuses and equity packages. When we finally agreed on $280 million with all my conditions met, Claire smiled across the conference table. You drive a hard bargain. I fought for creative control, the power to reject decisions that compromised our core values, everything that mattered. I know my worth, I said. I've spent my whole life having people undervalue me. I'm done with that. Innovix Technologies made a $270 million offer to acquire supply flow, but keep it as an independent subsidiary. I'd remain CEO, maintain creative control. They'd provide infrastructure to scale globally. I couldn't turn it down. I negotiated up to $310 million. After taxes, legal fees, and setting aside money for employee bonuses, I personally walked away with $160 million. I kept $25 million liquid, invested the rest in a diversified portfolio my financial advisor created. 28 years old, more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. And my family had no idea. Meanwhile, Emma had gotten engaged again, this time to Chase, a hedge fund manager. My dad once suggested I apply for a job at his insurance company. They needed someone good with computers. And my mom would occasionally ask if I was still doing that programming thing, like it was a hobby I might outgrow. I flew in for Emma's engagement party, gave them a $300 gift card to their registry, left before the speeches. Emma didn't notice I'd left until the next day. The acquisition closed in October. By November, I'd settled into my new role, signed a 5-year contract with Innovix, started planning what to do with my newfound wealth. I donated anonymously to my old public school, funded a complete technology lab renovation, set up scholarship funds. I also bought my first real piece of luxury, a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn with a view of the Charles River. But I didn't post about it. Didn't tell anyone outside my close circle. Thanksgiving was coming up. For the first time in years, I actually wanted to go home. Not because I'd softened toward my family, but because I'd realized something. Their opinion of me didn't matter anymore. I'd spent so long desperate for their validation, their recognition, their pride, but I didn't need it anymore. I'd validated myself. I called my mom to confirm I was coming. She sounded surprised. "Oh, wonderful, honey. Emma and Chase will be there too. Chase's parents might come by. It'll be a lovely family gathering." A pause. "You're still doing that computer stuff, right? Are you making enough to get by? Your father knows someone who might be hiring." I smiled at the phone. "I'm fine, Mom. Really fine." "That's good, sweetie. See you Thursday." I packed a bag, including one specific item, the folder with the acquisition paperwork. I'd been keeping it not for some grand reveal. I didn't know if I'd say anything at all, but I wanted it with me, a reminder of what I'd accomplished without them. The drive to Connecticut felt different this time. Normally, I'd spend the whole trip bracing myself for disappointment, preparing to be overlooked, undervalued. This time I listened to music, enjoyed the fall foliage. There was something else too, a strange calm I'd never felt before. I kept thinking about a conversation I'd had with my therapist, Dr. Chen, the week before. I'd started seeing her 2 years ago, finally ready to unpack the damage of growing up invisible. "Why do you want to go to Thanksgiving?" she'd asked me. "What do you hope to gain?" I'd sat with that question for a long time. "I think I want to see if I still care," I'd finally said. "If their opinion of me still has power over me. If it does, then I know I still have work to do. If it doesn't..." I'd smiled. "Then I'm free." Dr. Chen had nodded. "Just remember, Maya, freedom doesn't require their recognition. You don't need to prove anything to them." "I know," I'd said, and I meant it. I pulled into my parents' driveway Wednesday evening. The house looked exactly the same. Same manicured lawn. Same expensive cars in the driveway. Emma's BMW had been upgraded to a Mercedes 2 years ago. Same chandelier visible through the front window. Mom answered the door with a perfunctory hug. "You made it. Come in, come in. Emma and Chase are in the living room." Emma looked up from the couch where she was scrolling through her phone. Chase sat next to her, looking exactly like every hedge fund manager I'd ever seen. Expensive suit, even on a casual Wednesday. Perfectly styled hair. A watch that probably cost more than most people's cars. Emma's always been beautiful. Tall, blonde, effortlessly graceful. The kind of person who turns heads. "Hey, Emma muttered, her attention already back on her phone. "Long time." "Hey." I set my bag down. "How's wedding planning going?" "Oh my God, it's insane. We're looking at venues for next June, and everything good is already booked. Mom's been helping me. Thank God. Chase's mom, too. It's basically a full-time job," she said, barely glancing up. Dad emerged from his office, reading glasses perched on his nose. "Good to see you, Maya. How's work going?" "Good. Really good." "Still doing computers?" "Yeah, Dad. Still doing computers." He nodded, already losing interest. "Well, that's steady work. Good benefits, I hope." Emma snorted. "Dad, she's a programmer, not a doctor. Benefits are probably basic." I could have corrected her. Could have mentioned that my benefits package at Innovix included full health care, unlimited PTO, stock options, and a personal financial advisor. Instead, I just said they're adequate. My salary alone was $700,000 a year, not including bonuses. Thanksgiving Day arrived with the usual chaos. Mom had been cooking since dawn, refusing help but complaining about how much work it was. Emma was directing Chase around like he was staff, having him move furniture and set up the dining room to her specifications. I helped where I could, mostly staying in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, trying not to get in the way. Aunt Laura arrived around noon with her husband, Uncle Dan, and their 2 kids. Laura was Mom's older sister, cut from the same cloth, obsessed with appearances and success. Her kids, Tyler and AmITheA, were teenagers now, with the entitled attitudes that come from never being told no. Maya. Laura air-kissed both my cheeks. Look at you. Still single, I see. Don't worry, honey. The right guy will come along. You just need to put yourself out there more. Maybe try one of those apps. I'm not really looking right now, Aunt Laura. Oh, nonsense. Everyone's looking. You don't want to end up alone, do you? She turned to Emma. Now, Emma, tell me everything about the wedding. I want all the details. I retreated to the kitchen. Dinner was called at 3 p.m. We all gathered around the extended dining table. Mom and Dad at the heads. Emma and Chase on one side with Laura's family. Me squeezed in between Tyler and Uncle Dan on the other. Let's say grace, Dad said. We passed dishes. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce that nobody ate. Conversations started. And like always, it centered on Emma. So, Chase, my dad began. Emma tells me you just got promoted. Chase smiled modestly. Yes, sir. Managing director. It's a big step up. That's fantastic. You two are really building a life together. I'm very proud. Thank you, Mr. Reed. We're very excited about the future. Emma grabbed Chase's hand. We're looking at houses in Westchester. At least 5 bedrooms. Good school district. We're hoping to start a family in a few years. Mom practically glowed. Oh, Emma, that's wonderful. You're going to be such a beautiful mother. I watched this interaction with a strange detachment. No jealousy, no hurt, just anthropological curiosity. I studied my mother's face as she gazed adoringly at Emma. Tried to remember if she'd ever looked at me that way. I couldn't recall a single instance. Dad was beaming at Chase like he'd personally selected him from a catalog of perfect sons-in-law. You've got a good head on your shoulders, son. Emma's lucky to have you. Chase smiled humbly, but I caught a slight smirk. The smile of a man who knew exactly how valued he was in this family's eyes. He was the golden son-in-law for the golden daughter, another achievement for them to brag about. I thought about my own dating life while building Supply Flow. It had been sparse. I'd had relationships, a few serious ones, but I'd never brought anyone home. What was the point? So they could compare him to Chase? So my mom could make that pinched face she makes when I do something that draws attention away from Emma? No, I'd kept that part of my life separate, protected, just like everything else that mattered. Laura leaned forward. What's your budget for the house? We're looking in the 1.5 to 2.5 million range, Chase said casually, like he was discussing the weather. Everyone made impressed noises. Tyler asked if they'd have a pool. AmITheA asked if she could visit. I ate my turkey, said nothing. And the wedding? Laura continued. Have you set a budget? Emma laughed. We want to do it right. We're thinking around 250,000. Dad's helping with some of it, and Chase's parents are contributing too. $250,000 for one day. I thought about the scholarships that money could fund, the lives it could change, but I kept that thought to myself. You deserve it, sweetheart, Mom said. It's your special day. Emma's wedding, Emma's future house, Emma's job, Chase's promotion, their perfect life together. I might as well have been a piece of furniture. Uncle Dan, to his credit, finally turned to me. So Maya, what about you? How's work going? The table went quiet. Everyone looked at me with vague curiosity, like I was about to give a weather report. It's going well, I said simply. Still doing computer programming? Dad asked. Yeah. That's nice, honey, Mom said in that tone. The one that actually meant, can we get back to talking about Emma now? Emma actually laughed. Maya's being modest. I'm sure she's doing fine with her little apps, or whatever. Little apps. My software processed millions of transactions daily across 4 continents. But they were little apps. Actually, I heard myself say, I've had some changes at work recently. Oh. Mom perked up slightly. Did you get a promotion? That's nice, dear. Something like that. Emma was already looking bored, reaching for her wine glass. Chase was checking his phone under the table. I sold my company, I said quietly. The words hung in the air for a moment. Everyone was still processing, not quite understanding. Your company? Dad's face wrinkled. I thought you worked for someone. No. I've owned my own company for 7 years. Supply Flow. It's a supply chain management software platform. I was the founder and CEO. Emma's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Wait, what? I started it in college. Built it up. We were operating in 8 countries. Last month, I sold it to Innovix Technologies. The silence was deafening. Laura's fork clattered against her plate. I took a sip of water. Let the moment stretch. The sale was for $280 million. After taxes and various fees, I cleared $160 million myself. I'm sorry, Chase said. Did you say million? Yes. That's not possible, Emma breathed. You're a programmer. You live in a tiny apartment. You drive a Honda. I still have my Honda, but I also bought a Lexus. And the apartment isn't tiny. It's just minimalist. I also just bought a house in Brooklyn. Chase was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Brooklyn. Those houses start at... Mine was $4 million, I said quietly. Waterfront. 5 bedrooms. 3-car garage. I paid cash. Emma's face had gone white. This is a joke. This has to be a joke. It's not a joke. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, showed them the balance of just my checking account. $25,500,000, which I kept liquid. The rest was invested. Laura actually shrieked, startled everyone. Oh my God, that's real. That's a real number. Mom grabbed the phone from my hand, staring at it like it might bite her. Her mouth opened and closed. How, Maya? When did this happen? I've been building Supply Flow since I was 21. 7 years. I've had major clients for 5 years. I just never mentioned it because nobody asked. I looked Emma in the eye. You said I was doing fine with my little apps. You weren't wrong. I was fine. Better than fine. Dad had gone completely pale. But why didn't you tell us? We're your family. Because you never wanted to know. Every time I tried to talk about my work, you'd turn the conversation to Emma. Every accomplishment I had was ignored. Every time I came home, I was invisible. My voice was steady, quiet. So I stopped trying to be seen by you. I built something incredible without your approval, without your help, without even your notice. Emma slammed her hand on the table. You let us think you were struggling. You let me feel sorry for you. Have you felt sorry for me, Emma? Really? I laughed without humor. You've never thought about me at all. We would have helped if you'd needed it, Mom said. I never needed it. That's the point. While you were getting everything handed to you. The private school, the cars, the trips, the money for Yale, I was building something real. I worked 80-hour weeks. I taught myself everything. I earned every single dollar. Chase was frantically typing on his phone, obviously looking me up. His eyes went wide. Holy shit, she's telling the truth. Maya Reed, founder of Supply Flow. The acquisition made headlines. It's all here. Forbes called her one of the most successful female tech entrepreneurs under 30. Laura grabbed his phone, started reading quickly. There are pictures. Maya at conferences. Maya meeting with, oh my God, is that the governor? Mom was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Maya, honey, why would you keep this from us? We're your family. We love you. Do you?" The question came out sharper than I'd intended. Did you love me when you forgot my birthday 3 years in a row? Did you love me when you spent $200,000 on Emma's education and gave me nothing? Did you love me when I came home for Christmas and you didn't have a stocking for me because you forgot I was coming? "That's not fair," Dad said softly. "Isn't it? Name one thing about my life. One thing that's not about my job. Name my best friend. Name my favorite food. Name anything that shows you've paid attention to me in the last decade." Silence. Emma's face was flushed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're doing this on purpose. You waited until my moment, until everyone was celebrating my life, and you decided to steal it. Your moment." I couldn't stop the laugh. "Emma, every moment has been your moment. Every holiday, every dinner, every family gathering for the past 28 years has centered on you. This wasn't something I planned. I didn't know I was going to say anything. But I'm just so tired of being invisible." "You're jealous," Emma screamed. "You've always been jealous of me." "I'm not jealous of you, Emma. I pity you." That stopped her cold. "What?" "Everything you have was given to you. Your education, your job opportunities, even your job. Dad called in favors to get you that interview, remember? You've never had to fight for anything. Never had to prove yourself. Never had to wonder if you could succeed on your own." I paused. "And now you're marrying a man who makes good money and planning a life that's comfortable and expected. There's nothing wrong with that life. But it's not extraordinary. It's not remarkable. It's exactly what everyone expected you to have. Because that's all you've ever known how to do. Accept things that were handed to you." Emma lunged across the table at me. Chase pulled her back as she screamed obscenities. Laura was fanning herself like she might faint. Mom was sobbing into her napkin. Tyler and Olivia sat frozen, eyes wide. Dad finally found his voice. "Maya, I think you should leave." "Yeah." I stood up, exhausted. "I think so too." I grabbed my coat and bag. As I reached the door, I looked back at them. Emma in rage. Mom and Dad in shock and maybe shame. Laura in naked jealousy. "For what it's worth," I said quietly, "I didn't come here to ruin anything. I came here because I realized I don't need you to see me anymore. I see myself. I know what I'm worth. And it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the fact that I'd built a life I'm proud of. On my own." I walked out. I could hear Emma wailing. Laura's voice rising in excitement. Mom begging Dad to do something. I got in my Lexus and drove away. My phone started blowing up before I even hit the highway. Emma calling and texting, screaming at me through voicemail. Mom crying, asking me to come back so we could talk. Dad sending stern messages about family loyalty. Even Aunt Laura tried to call, probably to see if I'd invest in whatever scheme she was running. I blocked them all. 3 days later, I got an email from Emma. Long, rambling, full of accusations and hurt feelings. But buried in the middle was one sentence that caught my attention. "Mom said you probably bought that house with Dad's money that you must have stolen from the family business somehow." I laughed out loud in my new living room, looking out at the Charles River. They still couldn't believe it, that the invisible daughter, the afterthought, the one who was just fine, had accomplished more than they'd ever imagined. I didn't respond to the email. My lawyer called a week after Thanksgiving. "Your family's attorney reached out. They're claiming you owe them compensation for the family's investment in your education and upbringing. They want $5 million. Tell them no, and tell them if they contact me again, I'll countersue for emotional distress and child neglect. I've kept every receipt, every bank statement, every record showing exactly how much they invested in Emma versus me. I'll make it public." I never heard from their lawyer again. Christmas came and went. I spent it in Aspen with friends I'd made in the tech world. People who knew me for what I'd built, not for being someone's forgotten daughter. We skied, drank expensive wine, celebrated our collective successes. My phone stayed blissfully silent. In January, I got a message from an unknown number. It was my cousin Tyler. "Hey Maya, I know things are weird with the family, but I wanted to say what you did was incredible. You've inspired me. I'm going to work hard and build something of my own. Thank you for showing me it's possible." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Thank you, Tyler. If you ever need advice or just want to talk, I'm here. Build something you're proud of." Maybe some good would come out of that disastrous Thanksgiving after all. Emma got married in June. I wasn't invited, but I saw pictures on social media. It looked beautiful, just like Emma's dream wedding. I didn't feel anything when I saw those photos. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction, nothing. 6 months ago, I started a new company, focused on AI-driven logistics solutions. Brought in some of my best people from supply flow. We're already getting interest from major players. This time, I'm not building in silence. I'm on panels, giving talks, mentoring young women in tech. Last month, I was invited to speak at Yale, at a tech conference. I almost said no, but then I remembered Emma walking those halls. How proud my parents had been. So I said yes. My talk was about building success from nothing, being underestimated, turning invisibility into an advantage. The audience hung on every word. The Q&A lasted an hour because there were so many questions. As I was leaving, a young woman approached me, clutching a notebook, looking nervous. "Hi, Ms. Reed. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm a first-generation college student. I'm here on scholarship. My family has no idea what I'm doing. They think I should have stayed home, gotten married, lived a simpler life. Your story made me feel less alone." I hugged her. "You're not alone, and you're going to do amazing things. Don't let anyone make you invisible." She walked away, crying happy tears, and I understood something. This was better than revenge. This was purpose. My family still tries to reach out occasionally. Mom sends cards on my birthday, which is weird because she remembers it now. Dad emails tech articles, as if he's always been interested. Emma sent me a message last month saying she's pregnant and thought I should know. I don't respond, not out of cruelty, but because I've built a life that doesn't include them. I have friends who celebrate my wins and support me through challenges. I have colleagues who respect my expertise. I have a future I'm excited about, full of possibilities I created myself. I have peace. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how everything happened, if I wish I'd handled Thanksgiving differently. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe I could have been more tactful, less dramatic. Maybe I should have told them years ago, or never told them at all. But I think about that 9-year-old girl, watching her sister get a BMW, internalizing the message that she wasn't worth investing in. I think about every dismissive comment, every forgotten moment, every time I was just fine. And I think about the woman I became despite all of that, or maybe because of it. No, I don't regret it. I earned my invisibility, and then I earned my visibility, and I did it on my terms. The money is nice. The success is gratifying. But the best part? I finally see myself clearly, and that's worth more than $160 million, more than any validation my family could ever offer. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm just visible to the people who matter, including myself. And you know what the craziest part of all this is? At that Thanksgiving dinner, after I dropped the news about my $160 million and the acquisition, after Emma's tantrum and Laura's shrieking, after all the chaos erupted, my dad just sat there, silent, staring at his plate. He didn't defend me, didn't defend them. He didn't apologize for years of neglect or try to justify the inequality. He didn't congratulate me or express pride. He just sat there, fork in hand, looking like a man who realized too late that he'd bet on the wrong daughter his entire life, and lost everything that mattered in the process. That silence said more than any words ever could. So yeah, my family ignored me for years, until I said one thing at Thanksgiving. And now they can't stop thinking about me. But the thing is, I've already stopped thinking about them. And honestly, that feels like the biggest win of all. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to Reddit Family Stories. Drop a comment below telling me what you would have done in my situation. Would you have told your family or kept it a secret forever? Let me know.